Back to politics now. We wanted to get a wrap-up of exactly what went down in Iowa, and who better to do that than Dr. Jason Johnson. Mark actually chatted with him earlier, and here's what he had to say.
Dr. Jason Johnson joining us now from Iowa. The best way to start this out, and who we're going to start talking about first, is to flip the coin, which was a big fan favorite last night. Heads, we'll talk Democrats. Tails, we'll talk Republicans first. Heads, we're going Democrats. Here we go. Boy, and the coin flip was very important last night. Have you heard of, or has that ever happened before?
It hasn't really happened before this big, but we have to be honest. Who actually believed that this was going to be easy for either Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders? I think last night's close race was a result of a lot of hard work on both campaigns. I think the Democratic Party as a whole, if they step back for a second, they should be happy about this, because the longer that Hillary and Bernie compete against each other, the more that the Democratic message spreads throughout primary states, and the less time we spend talking about Hillary's email. I think last night's close contest was a victory for both sides.
It was very interesting to see after that. Was it the third coin flip that Hillary Clinton won, that everybody kind of went, hey, now wait a second. It was almost like a carnival feel.
Yeah. I mean, or really, really bad overtime. Okay. But here's the thing. I mean, Sanders is going to complain. He says that we need to do some recounts. It shouldn't come down to a coin flip. It shouldn't come down to the luck. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is, they got to move on to New Hampshire. They got to move on to South Carolina. This is going to be a close, long-fought race. When it comes to a coin flip here, trust me, it's going to come to a coin flip that will probably help Sanders down the road in some of these races as well.
All right, let's switch over to see what with the Republicans last night. This was, to some, it was a surprise to see Trump come into second. But the reality is, to pull numbers like that, it was actually a little bit of a surprise, given that he didn't even bother with the last debate.
Right. Like I said, you have to think about Trump in the grander perspective here. He had no team on the ground. He skipped the last Iowa debate. I mean, basically, he sat his starters for the last 2 weeks before the caucus and still got 24% of the vote. This is a very good sign, actually, for Donald Trump. He was a little arrogant to not compete as much as he should have, but going forward in places like South Carolina and New Hampshire, he has bigger leads. The ground game is less important than a primary than it is in a caucus. I think this is a two-man race with Ted Cruz and Donald Trump.
And off to New Hampshire now. Our guy Kasich here from Ohio didn't even. I mean, he's been running up and down New Hampshire. I think probably crisscrossed it 3 or 4 times, right?
Yeah. Well, look, Governor Kasich has made it clear New Hampshire is his last stand. He's got to get a strong top 4 showing in New Hampshire, or he's probably not going to go to. He actually said in the documentary, The Circus, which runs on Showtime, he said, look, I've got 7 newspaper endorsements. I've got New York Times. He literally told a group of voters, New Hampshire is his last stand. So we're going to see what happens. If Kasich gets out of the race, the interesting thing is going to be he doesn't have any delegates, but will he throw it behind Ted Cruz? Will he throw a support behind Marco Rubio? He's definitely not throwing a support behind Donald Trump.
Well, listen, Jason, we don't have to flip the coin to figure out whether we want to have you back again. You're always great. We really appreciate you taking the time, Dr. Jason Johnson in Iowa. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mark. Anytime.